cool. I think it's working. And for the purposes of people who may join this after the fact, here I am, and here we are. And it's time to jump into some photo editing, which might be cool and good and fun to have a look at. So, first of all, brief introduction to this set of images that you see before you. These are some digital images that were created not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, with my Canon EOS R in a location a little bit down the road from where I live, called Heswall, and there's some lovely boats in this area, and I went down there to take a look and see what was occurring with my camera, and got some nice shots of the residential area there as well as the sun was going down, so it's all very evening style, if that makes sense, evening themed. By the time I got to these boats, actually, it was pretty dark, so these are quite high ISO shots, which is fine, and we can play around with that and see what can be recovered through the power of the latest and greatest in ISO or noise reduction tools. So yeah, as I was walking towards the beach area, I discovered this camper van here with some nice light on it, so this will be the first one that I take a look at in terms of editing. And for this shot, I quite fancy a 4x5 kind of a setup. And usually, I don't know usually if I would crop first of all, but it's kind of the first thing that jumped out at me with this scene. As you can see here, it's a little bit of noise. But I quite like the texture. I don't think I would change anything to do with that at all, if anything. I've got some presets over here that I don't really play around too often with presets, but these are some of the ones that I jump to quite regularly. So I've got filmic warmth, Inveruri grade, which is something I created on a trip I went on recently. Manchester tones, this is something that I did recently as well while taking pictures in Manchester. And warm tone, this is just a general kind of warm tone that I quite like the look of here. So that's pretty much it there, slap that on, and I could call that done. There's nice detail in the shadows that have been retained. This kind of scene almost, it just doesn't look like it needs a lot doing to it in terms of, pushing it to the extremes. I could lift the shadows a little bit just to open it up a little bit. Nothing too major though, because I kind of like the muted look to the darker areas of this scene. And lower the highlights a little bit. That'll just kind of take a little bit of the edge off the actual camper van and create some nice dynamics in between this shadowy area and this highlight area, which is kind of the focus for me. Would I crop in a little bit on here? Potentially. Compositionally, I'm thinking I might. At least attempt it. See, I don't like that. I like the negative space in the lower third, somewhere around there, and that keeps this area nice and central, which is cool. Cool. We're making great progress. I'm quite happy with that already. So, on with the show. I'll just save the ones that I like to the quick collection. It's something I usually like to do. Again, this sort of vehicle scene jumped out at me as I was walking along, and this was not too far from the camper van. I'll just slap the same preset on here. And generally this preset, all it's changing is it's changing primarily the kind of colour. If you look into the HSL here, it's shifting the hue of the oranges, the yellows, the reds and the greens somewhat, and giving a bit of a boost to the warm tones, which is why it's called warm tone. And also bringing the luminance of the yellow down a little bit, just to give it that sort of saturation as well, prevent it from being washed out in the yellow areas, which is good and nice. And then this tone curve, just the slightest S-curve and a little bit of raised blacks, just for that sort of film look, if you like. And that's really all there is in any of these presets. Is there's just a bit of just playing around with the HSL. But for these scenes, I really am feeling the warm tone of what we just described. And from there, it's generally just a case of playing around with the exposure. So I think I definitely would brighten this somewhat. Nothing too major though. I quite like the moodiness. A little bit of contrast coming in here with the highlights coming up. I mean, I could drop the contrast out and it just wouldn't have the same feeling. So round about here, I think. Yeah. If I just A-B that, you can see where it started and where we are. It's just made it a little bit warmer, which is cool. And I'll pop that into the quick collection. Not really sure what was going on with this scene. Let me just full screen it and see. Ah, okay. So I'm pretty sure I was drawn to these grassy textures and then this thing in the distance as a focal point. I might come back to that one. I quite like this scene here. Let's have a look. Again, crop into 4x5. Straighten that somewhat. And if I apply the warm tone here, yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like where that's at. Bring the highlights down slightly. I quite like the idea of moody shadows in here though, to be fair. Creates that feeling of mystery, almost. Let's get the horizon proper. And there we go. Another select. This is almost like a flip side of this scene. Let's take a look at it. Oh, get it straight. Somewhere around here, I think. The preset. I'm gonna bring those shadows down again. So I like the kind of the gloom. It was kind of gloomy. I don't think this is straight though. Or is it? I'm just not sure. With a scene like this, I would probably do a bit of transform action, where I can use these guides to create some straightness, correctness in here. For the verticals, I get quite OCD about that sort of thing. They should all be pretty much straight, and if I'd held my camera at the right angle when taking this shot, they would be, but I just don't know about this. It wants to come the other way. I'm just not sure. Come back in and crop that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's looking a bit better. I'm not too sure about this image. I might kind of reject it later on, but for now it stays there. Any more good moments in here? Let's have a look. This has got potential, I think. Let's have a look. Let's see what we're working with. There's a lot of noise in here. Blimey, Charlie. Although to be fair, I don't know if I want it that light. I kind of like it somewhere around here. Oh, look at that. Absolutely disgusting noise though. Get this level. Cool. So I like this, and I think this is a good time to have a play around with noise reduction, which has come a long way. It's kind of insane how far it's come. So let's open up the detail panel and jump into the I wouldn't say new at this stage, but fairly recent denoise feature. Let it do its thing. Having a think. Right then. Okay, we're loading enhance data, I believe. I hope. Or has my machine crashed? That bugged out a little bit. Let's try again. Aha. Although I'm not sure if you can see the preview window, which is a little bit annoying. What am I looking at here? So I'm going to say if I bring this down to 60%, and see what that does. It's at a more kind of acceptable level, and I'm talking as if you can actually understand what I'm saying. What I'm talking about, sorry. But you shall see. I'm going to press the enhance button any moment now. Enhance. It just reminds me of those detective programs from the early 2000s where they would literally enhance a low resolution picture, and this is pretty similar to that. It's kind of crazy because we always used to laugh at that conceit that you could enhance a photo like that, and yet here we are, literally using artificial intelligence to do just that. Oh my gods, it's him. Yes, I am. I am very much alive and live. And by all accounts, so are you, which is reassuring. It's reassuring, my friend. I'm just waiting for my photo to enhance. Which does take a little bit of time on my poor old PC. I think it's taking a little bit longer due to live streaming, possibly, I don't know. Okay, have fun. Have fun driving. Be careful and stay safe on the roads. You should try and live stream me to your car. If I do this, you might be able to see the processing rather than a white screen. Yes, you can. Cool, let me just rearrange this so I'm here. Ah! Yes, much better. Now you can see everything that I see. Which is cool. So we are, progress-wise, it's down here on my little green progress bar. Danny W, hopefully you can now see reality and all will be well. And if you can, you should definitely give me a thumbs up if you can see what I'm referring to. But I think you can. I think that's the case. 60% there. 60% there. Sometimes I use this little gadget in my day-to-day sort of work life on my poor work laptop, and it does take a hell of a long time on that. That's like full on go and have your lunch break kind of thing, I think. But quite often I'm not shooting at these insane ISO levels while I'm at work. Now, this was very dark when I took this photo, incredibly dark. Oh, we're there. I think we're there. And just like that, here it is, the final yeah, I mean it's not perfect by any means. You can tell where the AI has kind of fudged things a little bit in like these areas. It's always like it's sort of invented what it thinks should be there, which is it's not far from reality. But like in these more brighter areas, it's like night and day. The improvement. And so if I full screen this, or sort of light box it, as to say, yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. So I'll throw that in with the rest for potential approval of my good self later on. And I'm kind of keen to take a look at some of these boat images now, just to see how bad the noise is in these scenes. And straight off the bat, I'm drawn to this one because it's got some nice light from the look of it. I don't think anything too surgical needs to happen just straight off the bat looking at this one, because it's almost sort of exposed correctly what it is. So I don't really need to do any brightening. And again, the noise in here is, it's texture, which I kind of enjoy and like. I love a bit of crunch. So again, I've just applied my my preset here, which gives me the curve that I'm looking for in this scene. And I might even darken this, just to see what would it do. How would it affect the feeling? Not in a good way, by the looks of it. I might bring the highlights down though. Not too much, not too much. Did I bring the shadows up a little bit? Just a smidge, I think. And I will crop this again, because I enjoy a good 4x5. And just looking at this through this grid here, the positioning of these boats feels like it wants to be central, and I think that must be what I was going for. And I'm kind of torn into, do I make a decision here around, do I favour the gradient of the sky, or the darkness of the grass in here, as in terms of where I frame things here? Because I feel like this might work better. I don't know, actually. Let me just try the inverse. Do I crop into somewhere like this to get that horizon onto a third sort of placement? And when I was sort of taking these photos, you know, these are things that I didn't really have time to think about because it was very rushed. But the other way, of course, is, you know, horizon perfectly central. Although that doesn't really please me either, because it looks sort of clumsy and random almost, and not well planned out, which, you know, that's my fault for when I was taking the image. Although having said that, this arrangement is quite nice with this boat kind of sitting here like this. Let me bring that way a little bit, and then this line kind of sits nicely on the lower third as well, and this boat kind of sits on the lower third, which kind of creates like this almost secondary horizontal region. I'm definitely wanting this to be a little bit more this way, so that you get equal amounts of these in here. Now, in a perfect world, of course, you know, I would have planned this out a little bit more at the time of taking. It needs to be more that way, a little bit more. Here, yeah. You know, could be a lot better, but I like the light. That's what I would say about that scene. Some more detail shots in here. A bit more of a shallow depth of field in here by the look of it. And that is pretty much kind of done for me. Not a whole lot of work required. I might brighten it slightly. Open up the shadows somewhat. Yeah. That's kind of true to how it looked as well, which is quite nice. Quite honest. What else do I like the look of in here? Quite like the idea of this, but it might be completely gone in terms of salvageability. Let's try it. Yeah. Lovely. This actually turned out, you know, a lot better than I was hoping, I have to say. We've got the wide shot here. Let's take a look. I like this boat. Yeah. I kind of almost want to try and I kind of almost want to try and get this into like a panoramic scenario, kind of a feeling. Bring down these highlights. This reveals some nice cloud information over here. Yeah. We go 16 by 9 style here, possibly. Get all these bits of detail where they want to go. Something like that feels appropriate. Not sure how level that is. Of course, with it being quite a wide shot, it'll never be perfectly flat. There's a little bit of distortion involved. Something like that could be correct. Could be. I'm second guessing that now, actually. Yeah, something like this, and this is probably a good use case for a little bit of a linear gradient filter, because there's some weird sort of highlight stuff happening around the edges in here, so just come in and subtly bring that down somewhat. Yeah, that's kind of a strange one. Why is it doing that? Let's have a look. It could be because this is quite extreme, and it's quite a high ISO moment. Or it could just be that the sky is kind of naturally leaning that way. What would I do here? Probably come in from here. And then add in a little bit of this action. And then here, the inverse of this, I think. I need to bring back a little bit of glow into the center, almost. Yeah. 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 How's that feeling? Let's see. Better, I would say. Better. And I like the look of this one. Boom. Nicely framed, if I do say so myself. Yes. Not much else to say really here, just other than good job. Good job to me when I took this photo, I think. This one, I'm not too sure on. Leslie Ann. Kind of wish I'd come in tighter at the time that I took this. Somewhere more like there. But again, you know, I was in a bit of a hurry as the light was rapidly going. Sorry, I'm so sniffly. Terrible hay fever today. Yeah, cool. I like that. I'm not trying to, you know, do anything too crazy with these shots. I kind of want them to feel close to, you know, what was captured. You know, there's lots that I could do in terms of, you know, dodging and burning, stuff like this, but it's kind of not indicative of the feeling that was permeating throughout the evening. That makes sense. Right, so again, really should have re-looked at the composition of this one, but it was pretty dark, so I'm gonna go easy on myself in terms of self-critique on this one. What would I have done differently? Probably would have stepped one step to the right, so that this thing in here is more sort of centrally framed with this, if that makes sense. So this part of the boat would stick out more to like this area, and that's just part of the alignment of regions and, you know, positioning and framing and all that stuff that's useful to have in your head when thinking through compositions. Just going to readjust the white balance on this scene slightly because it's very blue, as the sun was very, very not with us at the time of taking this. Might brighten it somewhat. Nothing too crazy. Bring down a little bit of highlights. And yeah, nice gloomy scene there. That used to be a restaurant. It's kind of abandoned now and out of business. So. We've got a horsey. This was earlier on when there was a bit more light. Very simply framed there. Nothing more to it other than a bit of this, a bit of that. Bring down the highlights a little bit to recover that blown out area and open up those shadows. Touch of contrast and tell you what though, actually, in this instance, a radial gradient is the way to go, I think, in terms of highlight management. You're going to bring the highlights down just in that area. There we go. And then we bring the focus back down to horsey here. I tried and tried to get this thing to come nearer, but it was very interested in the grass and not at all interested in me, which is, you know, understandable. What was I thinking here? Why did I take this photo? Radley. Don't know. Not sure. Nothing to say really about that one. Which brings us to these house photos that I mentioned earlier. Let's have a look. I quite like this building. Quite pleasing to the eye, which is obviously why I felt compelled. Again, 4x5 or 5x4, depending on who you ask. And get it somewhat in the middle. And excuse me. Oh, it's awful. Right. I definitely want this more vertical. Not that vertical. About there. And yeah, that looks right. Cool. Again, I like the kind of gloom, but I want this to be something going on, like, yeah, so you can actually see what's occurring. I think what I need is a little bit of linear gradient up here, nice and feathered. Bring some of that balance back in. Yeah, I think so. And then a little bit more here, I think. Somewhat too extreme. Yeah. Oh god. And then I might warm this up slightly. See how that affects things. Oh yes, that's much more of the feeling that I was looking for. And you know, yeah, there's a bit of noise in this, but that's fine. And let's give this the same kind of treatment. Yep. Just want to make sure I've got that round door thing in, because I know I was kind of drawn to that. And just get my lines straight again. The verticals, as to say. About there, feels right. Let's crop in a little bit. Oh, nicely. Nicely, nicely. Oh, did I not crop that out? There we go. Much better. Oh, I'm so sniffly. I do apologise. I don't know how I feel about this one, but I'm gonna give it a look. Good God. This was very dark, wasn't it? Or very underexposed, one of the two. Underexposed, I'm going to go with. No. I just don't know what I was thinking when I took this photo. But anyway, this one could be worth taking a look at that we skipped over before. Let's do it. There's a nice gradient in there, I know that much. And clearly that wants to be centralized. And what if we darken it down a little bit? Not sure actually. We should definitely straighten that horizon though. Not sure how straight that is. better, but then that's not there. Yeah, I like this. I think the reason I took this was these sort of wavy lines down here in the grass. And then this kind of focal point. Cool. Yeah. I might darken the whole thing, I think. Just a little bit. Or do I do this instead? Probably. Yeah. So, quick look at the whole collection of edits. And, you know, quite a funky little set of images. Definitely wish I'd got here earlier on when the light was a little bit more golden. But alas, it was not to be. But I do quite like these, you know, nice warm shots, and then it is nice to have. I like these. They kind of tell, you know, like two halves to a set almost. This one, you know, I could live without, but I do like the thing. I think that drew me to it was the blue in here. I like that detail. It's kind of interesting layout and lines and so on. Nice little pieces of architectural study, like these bungalows. Quite an affluent area around here, I have to say. There are, you know, a lot of big houses around this area as well. Yeah, sort of blue hour moments, I guess you would say. So cool. Nice little set of shots for the archives. What the hell's that? I thought it must be like a fly or something that was coming through. I think I'll paint that out, if I'm being honest. Very distracting. Boom. Cool. So yeah, little bit of photo editing. And if you're watching this after the fact, in the replay, cool, thank you. And if this is something you would like to see done again, then let me know. Leave me a comment, and I will endeavour to share future editing sessions with you for your enjoyment. And that could include also film scans. If Kodak make their film a little bit cheaper, possibly, maybe, who knows. So yeah, thank you for coming along on this journey with me, and this was very much a trial run of doing this sort of thing for me, so it'll be fun to do it again and make some tweaks. So yes, thank you everyone, and I'm going to end the stream.